that are in a relationship for a long, long time. At the beginning of the relationship, everything is great and amazing. They have these butterflies and the energy flows. They want to do a lot for one another. And then the people themselves don't really change. Just the structure of the relationship changes and they become more comfortable. So instead of wanting to make the other person happy, they're just thinking more about themselves. And I think true love is about wanting to give the other person everything. So like to get, not to think about yourself, not to be really so self-centered and just to think about my own needs, but also to think about the other person. And I see that the longer you're inside a relationship, the harder it is to really put the other person in a place where you just want to give them what they need or what you could have gave them at the beginning. And I see a lot of couples that are kind of get in a certain place which is really uncomfortable for them. Although they got comfortable with each other, they get uncomfortable internally. And then instead of speaking up and being honest and saying, hey, this is what I need, let's put it on the table and sort it out, they kind of suppress their emotions and put it inside. And then they walk with these big bellies of emotions without having to share the way they feel. And then they get distant from one another. And I think true love is to be able to be truthful to yourself. So you would be able to share it even if you're worried or concerned about the other person's might get hurt because of that. Because I think that the more you hold on to, most likely you're going to hurt that person eventually. After the gap is being established, it's very hard to put it back together. Some people, it takes them years to come back together. And in this physical world that we live in 2016, it's so easy to just give up and say like, hey, you know, like so many fish outside and like, F that, let's throw out the relationship. If it's 10 years or 20 years, let's throw it to the garbage and just try to find something else. When the actual problem is not really with the other person, it's just with our own behavior. The way that at the beginning we had the state of mind that we are willing to do whatever it takes to make the relationship work, and we're willing to think about the other person, to put them at first place and to love them, nourish them, give them what they need and what they ask for. And then with the time we get more and more and more selfish. That's like a big conflict, because I believe that to have a really good relationship, something that will last forever, at least from my point of view and my life experience, I learned that we have to put ourselves first. We have to love ourselves first of all before we can love someone else. And then when we have another person in our life, we also have to put them in a place where we think about them, because we can't be completely selfish. Because if we only think about ourselves, then there is no room to love someone else. So with that, it's kind of like a conflict for me each time when I think about love and when I think about relationship, and when I deal with couples coaching, I see that many times I want to tell my clients, you know, put yourself first, think about yourself, but then we have to remember there's a greater reason that brought them together. They all have this higher purpose that put them together. And I think it's easier when you connect the couple to their higher purpose, then it's easier for them to work on the relationship, versus if everybody just think of their higher purpose and then they get disconnected. What do you think about that? Do you see that in your work, in your spiritual guidance, when you guide other people? Do you find that intriguing and like a conflict like I do?
The way I see it, we bring people into our lives when we're on the same road headed toward a similar destination. You know, like when you're driving your car, you're on the road, you meet other cars that are on the same road, headed the same direction towards some common destination at that point in time. And we could be on the same road as someone for a side street, just, you know, for just crossing paths at an intersection. We could be on the same road for a highway for a long stretch of you know, our lives. And ideally we would end up in long-term relationships with people who are on the highway with us, because we're actually going the same direction for a long period of time. When we end up in relationships with people where our paths only are in common on a side street, and then we try to keep those people in our lives, even when naturally, if we were pursuing ourselves and they were pursuing themselves, then we wouldn't be on the same road anymore. Then we create conflicts. When we're listening to ourselves about being true to ourselves and setting our own goals, our own destinations for where we're going in life, and when we're listening to that, we meet someone and they're on that road too, that their goals for themselves are in alignment with our goals for ourselves, then we can create a situation where in a relationship together, we naturally are going the same direction. And when we're there for ourselves, it actually improves the relationship. I've found that we can actually end up in relationships where, like if we're only meant to be together on a side street, or maybe, not at all as a relationship, maybe we try to make something a relationship that isn't even meant to be a romantic relationship, then that forcing it to be something that it's not meant to be, that's not the role that we play for each other, or that it's not the role that we're meant to play for each other anymore, then we end up creating a situation where we actually are cheating on ourselves when we're with the other person, and we're essentially like feeling like we're cheating on the other person when we're with ourselves. That when we're faithful to ourselves, then it doesn't feel right to be with the person. And that when we're trying to be with the person, then it feels like we're being unfaithful to ourselves. So ideally, we would be in relationships that when we're faithful to ourselves, then we feel like we're being faithful to the other person. When we're faithful to the other person, it feels like we're being faithful to ourselves. That we can actually, be in alignment in that way. And so there are relationships that, while of course every relationship, there was a reason we brought each other into each other's lives, we're often inclined to try to make things work when they're not supposed to, or give up when we're really supposed to be learning things about ourselves. And so the important thing is to really ask ourselves, what could I be learning here? Often we're inclined to jump ship from a relationship or a job or whatever when things get tough, rather than learning from what we could be learning from, and then seeing, okay, now that I've addressed what it brings up for me, does it feel right to still be here? And if we haven't addressed whether, what it's bringing up for us, we don't even know whether it's, it's about the relationship yet or not, because it's still about our own internal dialogue. We have to address the internal conversation before we can address the external conversation. So if this person's bringing up certain things for us about us in our relationship with ourselves, then we want to address that, and then ask ourselves, now that I've addressed that, how does it feel to be with this person, and what feels right now? And if at that stage it feels right to address things with the person, then we should be addressing things with the person then. And if it feels right to end that relationship because it's played itself out, then that's what we want to do at that point. But that ultimately we recognize what things are bringing up for us and address the internal first, because if we don't have the internal conversation, then the external conversation is going to be a whole bunch of miscommunication. That's going to be a reflection of our own internal miscommunication when we're not being there for ourselves in the ways that we really need to be, and we're thinking the other person's not being there for us in the way that we really want them to be. But that's really something that we need to be addressing with ourselves, maybe about our career or about our health or about, the fact that we're putting the other person first all the time. And ultimately, and here is an interesting, like you said, a potential conflict between being there for ourselves and being there for the other person. Ultimately, ideally, we would always be our highest priority. And that's where the, being faithful to ourselves and being with someone where it feels like we're being faithful to ourselves, to be with the person at that point in time, to listen to that. Because if what we're inclined to do is that we put ourselves first, we finally get to a place where we're in some way putting ourselves first, and then we bring someone into our lives who shows us that, and it feels great. We see this amazing connection and we feel all this love, and it's because it's an accurate reflection of the fact that we've got that with ourselves. We managed to get that with ourselves, that we have all this love, we were pursuing things that we enjoyed, we were there for ourselves, and then we met someone. And then what we're inclined to do is shift our focus of attention to that person and be like, this person's amazing, I'm gonna go focus on this person, I'm gonna put all my energy into this relationship, and ultimately then that's when the relationship starts to break down. As soon as we are no longer the highest priority, when we stop doing what we were doing that got the person into the picture in the first place, then we end up with problems, because we lose the relationship as soon as we stop building the relationship with ourselves. And so the key is to, you know, dance with the person who brought you to the party. That's you, you know, like you got the relationship into your life. Keep it by continuing to be with yourself. Don't go off and dance with the other person when it was your own thoughts, feelings, and instincts, your own internal guidance that got you there in the first place, that brought that person in. Remember that you're the one creating your experience consistently and not the other person. And so if you keep creating amazing experiences, you keep intending the kind of experience you want in your life, then that person, if he or she is capable of being that, will mirror that and will support you in having those amazing experiences that you're creating for yourself. But as soon as you think that person is the source of your experience, and you start putting your energy into that person over you and prioritizing that person over you, because you're like, I got this great thing, now I'm afraid of losing it, now I need to like put my energy into it, then that's really our thoughts, feelings, instincts afraid of losing us to that person, because they're like, we felt so connected to you. That's why we showed you the mirror of that in the world. Keep creating things with us. Like, we want to stay connected to you. We don't want to lose you to that person now that we showed you this great connection that we felt with you through that person. Create more positive experiences with us and you get to keep the person. And if it's not the person, then it'll be another person, but it'll maintain that connection.
I love it. So basically what you're saying is that bottom line, there are a few things. The first thing is really like to stay connected to yourself and to keep developing the relationship that we have with ourselves. This is the first thing. The second thing is like to stay true to yourself and loyal to your values and who you are, to stay truthful to who you are. Keep visiting that inside place. Keep visiting it. Don't suppress it. Don't put all your energy into someone else and then be surprised that you feel empty because you got disconnected from who you really are and you compromised your values, your world, what's important to you, and then you just put all your energy and the key to your happiness in their hands, and then problems starts happening. And the third thing I think I heard you saying is that you really like want to maintain that relationship that you have with yourself. Keep giving to yourself what you need. Keep nourishing yourself. Keep investing in yourself. Keep investing in your well-being. And again, don't just depend on the other person to give you all that, because you already found out that you can give all that to yourself. Now, the biggest conflict is what happens with people who already found a relationship and haven't found that deeper connection within themselves. That's, they have to develop that. And then sometimes what I see is that when we do some internal work while we are in a relationship, sometimes one car shifts away and it doesn't ride on the same highway anymore, right? So that's a time to let it go and really break up, or at least to try to maybe speed up so you could get to that place where the other car is, right? And well, that's really the conflict.
Yeah, it would be like, obviously the hard part is recognizing that we do end up getting emotionally attached to the mirror. So, you know, we have this amazing experience with another person, and then it's really hard to recognize, hey, this person, just like all people, is just a reflection of a part of me that I was increasingly connecting to at that point in time. And if I could recognize it as that, you know, obviously in this human existence and physical existence, we're here for a period of time, and we're in people's lives for a period of time, and, you know, relationships and lives, and it's easy to think that we've lost a part of ourselves when we lose a person. But in reality, we would be losing a part of ourselves if we think that that person was the way we were connecting to that part of ourselves. In reality, people come into our lives to show us to show us parts of us that we could be connecting to even when they're not in our lives. And if we could increasingly connect to a part of ourselves, then bring someone in who's a mirror of that, then connect to that part of ourselves even more, and then learn how to you know, expand upon that and really be a fuller version of ourselves because of that person, then we could continue to create our experience, create the experience we want to have. And if when we're imagining the reality we want to be living in, if we're fast forwarding 6 months from now, a year from now, and imagining everything we want to feel in a relationship or in our lives or whatever, and then you know, it feels right to be with this person at this point in time, then that's what we should listen to. And if it feels wrong to be with this person at this point in time, because it doesn't even fit that conception, or you can't imagine that person in that like great, you know, reality that you're imagining. You're imagining everything you want to feel in a relationship in 6 months from now, and it doesn't feel like that person's in that picture. It's like impossible to even imagine that person in that picture. Then that says something. Obviously, then at some point between now and 6 months from now, that's probably not going to last if we actually want to have everything we really want to have. And if we want to have what we want to have with ourselves, then we want to listen to, you know, creating the emotional reality we want to be in, and then listen to our own internal guidance that says, you know, with it, you know, be with this person right now, or it's time to, you know, part ways from this person right now. And to be able to be open to that and remember that we created this experience, we can create another one. Like, that's the whole point of having a relationship with ourselves, that we've created every experience that we have. We looked in the mirror and we saw this. So if we could create any kind of magical, amazing experience, and then we're finding that the relationship is, you know, not that magical, amazing experience anymore, then go back to creating a magical, amazing experience. Imagine what that would feel like, you know, not, you know, separate from that person, separate from any physical specific people. Just imagine what it would feel like to be in that kind of experience, in that kind of relationship. And then see where that guides you, because it got you here. Do it again. It'll get you to, you know, something that's the next step of your journey.
I love it. Love it. You know, I just got off like right before our conversation. I finished a coaching session with a client of mine that I haven't seen for 3 weeks. And we did a personal breakthrough, which is it's a very intensive process of 12 hours where we work in 3 weeks. We break everything that is limiting us from receiving what we truly want in our life. And her breakthrough was about relationships. And she came here after 3 weeks. We haven't seen each other, and she told me, this is unbelievable what we did. We made a list of everything she wants to have in a relationship and the type of guy that she wants to attract into her life. But I told her the list has to be so specific that if you read it in front of a room of 200 people, everyone will understand exactly who that person is. It has to be super specific. Don't just put someone who has a sense of humor, but put, how does he make you laugh? Does he make you laugh because he does something silly, or because he's goofy, or because he's really smart and has this energy that keeps you going, and with a smart mind, that's what makes you laugh? Like, be super specific. And she brought the list and she said, look, this is the person, this is the list. If you would give me that person, you have to describe the person, the list describes him perfectly. And this was 3 weeks ago, and today she's already into a relationship. So I'm very, very connected to what you said, because what we want in life is really, if we can imagine it, if we can put all our energy into creating it, the universe will do whatever it takes to really create the opportunity. We just have to make sure we're awake and we are open enough to actually pursue that and take the opportunity in two hands. Don't hesitate and just go for it. You know, don't let the fear take over and control you. I know so many people, not just through my work field, but also in my personal life, that fear is what has gotten them away from the relationship, because they recognize this is everything they want. This is the girl of their dreams. This is the woman of their life. But they were too hesitant. They took their time. They had to think. They were too fearful to act on it. They said, no, what if they in their head, they thought, what if she doesn't like me? What if I'm not good enough for her? What if? So many what ifs, so many limiting beliefs that held them back from pursuing the relationship with the person of their dreams. So the universe like created it. They knew exactly what they wanted. They created the opportunity. But then when time has come, instead of grabbing the opportunity and just go for it and take it in two hands and just do whatever it takes to manifest it and make it happen, they stayed lethargic. They stayed behind. They stayed outside of the gate instead of walking inside of it. And that's a sad truth, because I see it happening all the time. I see that opportunities are everywhere. You know, it's not just with relationship. It's with money, with healing, with opportunities of meeting other people. And people rather stay in their comfort zone instead of really acting up and just trying to to just grab the opportunity in two hands, because what's the worst thing that can happen? So you give it a try, and excuse me, and it's not something that you truly want after 5, 6 months or 1 year or 2 years or 5 years. You always have the opportunity to try something else, or to try to work on it and to try to make it better. But instead of just jumping and taking that leap of faith, a lot of people just rather stay outside. And I want to wish all our audience and every person who listens to us today, especially in this love day, is love yourself enough to be courageous enough to grab the opportunity in two hands, in both of your hands, and just hug it and give it all you've got, because opportunities, they come and go, and once you miss an opportunity, who knows if you're going to get it again. So just be courageous enough to follow your heart and to dive into that pool, no matter how deep it looks like, and do it with all your heart, even if you have these doubts inside. Like you say, we have such a huge spiritual guidance inside. We just have to learn to listen. And sometimes the best thing to do is not to take our time and not to overthink it and overanalyzing it. Just feel it. It feels right. Go do it. It's something that looks right and seems right. Do it. It sounds like something you can do. Jump and do it. I think it's better to try something than just to stay behind and to stay lethargic and just to wait for life to happen to you, because it doesn't, never. You have to take action and go and actually pursue your happiness. It's not going to come and knock on your door unless you really get out there and try. So first thing is really to connect, develop that relationship with yourself. And the second thing is really to know what you want, what you truly, truly, deeply want. What is it that you need? What kind of person you want to attract into your life? Third thing is really when it comes and the universe provides, jump and take the opportunity. Don't be hesitant, because if you hesitate, then you might miss the opportunity. And fourth thing, just stay true to yourself and listen, and always stay tuned to who you truly are, and remember what you asked for way back before the relationship has started. Remember, what is it that you asked for, and you created this opportunity, and what is it that you could do to make it better and to spread love, because this is what life is about.
That's a really good message to be winding down on and be leaving our viewers and listeners with. I just want to add to that in specifying everything we want, that we're focusing on the experience that we want to have, because it's less about the specific physical qualities that those are suggestions. Yes. We don't want to be attached to the suggestions. We want to be, the thing that we really want is the experience that we have in life, that we have with the person. And if we are continually creating our experience, imagining what we'd like to feel in that situation, what we'd like to feel in the relationship, what we'd like to feel in our lives, then that's what we'll be guided toward. And then to remember that we're allowed to always ask for more. Even when you have a relationship, keep creating your experience and see where that guides you, and just listen to yourself and remember that you're the one creating your experience, not the other person, not anyone else. And so just keep creating your experience, because that's what it is to stay in a relationship with you. And then just keep listening to your own internal messages to see where that takes you.
I love that. Love, love, love that. I want to wish you a happy Valentine's Day. From cold Israel to freezing, to frozen New York. And hopefully we get to do this again. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, sounds good. I agree. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. A great love day. Great love day for everyone, to everyone who listens, and to people who will listen in the future, and just have a love day every single day.
I like that. Yeah, may all your days be filled to overflowing with love, that you just feel so much love for yourself and everyone and everything around you all the time.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mulan.
Thanks.